All right, let's talk about something that's really shaking things up on the world stage. We're talking about a potential move that could completely redefine the alliances that have kept the peace for, well, more than 70 years.
Yeah, you've probably seen the headlines swirling around. A really shocking claim is making its way across the globe. The idea that the United States might actually really pull out of NATO. It's a huge deal. So what's the deal here? Is this just, political talk meant to stir the pot? Or are we looking at a genuine, history-making turning point for the entire world? To get to the bottom of it, we've got to break it all down. Okay, so first things first. Before we can even talk about the US leaving, we need to be on the same page. What is NATO exactly? So NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was created way back in 1949, right in the thick of the Cold War. The whole point was to form a military alliance to stand against the Soviet Union. And today, it's grown to include more than 30 countries. But the whole thing, the entire organization, is built on one single idea. And it's an idea that's so simple, but at the same time, it's so powerful that it's been the bedrock of European security for decades. And this is it. This is the core principle. If one member country gets attacked, it's considered an attack on all of them. Think about that. The full military power of every single member country stands behind any one member that's threatened. That is a huge, huge deal. So here's what that looks like in the real world. If someone attacks, say, Germany, they're not just taking on Germany. Nope. They're instantly at war with the United States. An attack on Poland is an attack on Canada. You see, this power is what makes even major countries think twice about starting a direct conflict. I mean, the whole Russia-Ukraine war. A huge part of why that even started was because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. Okay, so if NATO is this powerful, this effective, what's the issue? Why would the United States, its most powerful member, even think about leaving? Well, that brings us to the big problem at the heart of this whole debate. Just look at this number for a second. 60%. Just 60%. It might not look like much out of context, but trust me, this one number is the key to understanding all the frustration that's fueling this entire conversation. So what is that 60%? Well, that's roughly the percentage of NATO's total defense spending that comes from, you guessed it, the United States. Just look at this chart. The US contribution is massive. It absolutely dwarfs what other big countries like Germany are putting in. And that imbalance right there, that's the whole shebang. And this is where you get the core argument from the US perspective. The question becomes, wait a minute, why are we paying the most but not getting full support when we need it? It's this feeling that the US is shouldering an unfair share of the burden. And that's really the main reason this idea of leaving NATO even exists. Okay, so let's get into the what-if scenario. Let's just imagine for a second that this isn't just talk anymore. The US actually does it. It leaves NATO. What happens? What does the world look like the next day? Yeah, this wouldn't just be some headline you scroll past. It would set off a massive chain reaction around the entire globe. So let's try to simulate what would happen. Let's walk through the consequences one by one. Okay, domino number one. Europe immediately becomes way more vulnerable. Without the US, NATO pretty much loses its military backbone. And who does that benefit? Well, it could make a country like Russia a lot more aggressive, maybe increasing pressure on smaller nations right on its border, like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Suddenly, you have a totally new and pretty scary military imbalance in Europe. And that creates a really stark contrast, right? You've got Russia's military on one side, with thousands of nuclear weapons, a force to be reckoned with all on its own. And then on the other side, you've got Europe's defense, but it's been seriously weakened. It's lost the US military might, and crucially, it's lost what's called the US nuclear umbrella. That's the promise that America would protect them with its own nukes. Without that, the power gap becomes absolutely enormous, like overnight. And the dominoes just keep falling. We're talking about a massive ripple effect. You'd probably see an economic shock, markets would panic from all the uncertainty, European countries would have to pour money into their own defense, which means cutting funds from things like welfare programs, healthcare, education. And guess who might see an opportunity in all this chaos? A country like China could step in to fill that power vacuum. Suddenly, the entire global power structure shifts into something new and probably a lot more unstable. So you take all of this new instability, this power vacuum, the increased chance of someone making a huge mistake, and it all leads us to one last and honestly pretty scary question. If all of this were to happen, Are we actually looking at the beginning of a new global conflict? I mean, could this be the kind of thing that leads to a new world war?
Look, one thing is absolutely clear through all of this. Even just a small change, a tiny shift in these big alliances can completely reshape the entire world. The stability we've kind of gotten used to, it's not as solid as you might think.
So when you boil it all down, the real question isn't just will the US leave NATO? It's bigger than that. The real question is, what happens next if it does?